Hi everyone, how are you guys doing today? I really hope that you're all staying safe indoors. And if you are not because you have to work, because you are a doctor or a nurse or an EMT or an ambulance driver or any of our health workers and other professionals who are currently busting their behinds and dealing with this horrendous virus that we are all hiding from, really, then my gosh, huge thank you. Huge thank you to each and every single one of you. I am trying my best to finally start filming more. I really wanted to do this 2 weeks ago now. I wanted to get into a groove of regular filming because even though I am still running my music school and I'm teaching online piano lessons, I do have a little bit more time, I guess, because, you know, I'm not having to travel to my students, I'm not having to travel to my school. So of course, all of those minutes add up. But honestly, for all the time that I've gained, I have lost probably 10 times the amount of motivation to do anything. You know, I'm beating myself up for it a bit because, as I just said earlier, just to wrap my brain around what the health workers right now have to go through, I feel almost, you know, so small and useless in some ways. And I feel like I have absolutely no right to sit here in the comfort of my home and complain about the fact that I'm not motivated enough and I am, you know, feeling anxious and depressed. A lot of people just don't have the luxury right now to even think about those things. I'm trying to just kind of see this from both sides. I'm of course trying to stay connected to that part that says get it together, but then I'm really trying to be a little more kind with myself and say, well, it's okay to have a bad day, or nowadays a bad week, and who knows, soon enough a bad month. We're all trying to just figure it out, and we all just have to take it a step at a time. I've been blabbering long enough without even telling you guys what I'm doing, although probably you will see it in the title. But I have been over the past few weeks watching a whole bunch of videos talking about top spring eyeshadow palettes. And I thought, ooh, I can do that. This was so fun for me because I got to actually pull things out and get to see like what I want to use in the upcoming couple of months. Since I just filmed a video about all the eyeshadow palettes that are brand new in my collection that I have even yet to dip my fingers into, I got to see some in there that I definitely want to discover this spring. And I figured I would include them in here because I figured if any of you guys have any of these palettes, I'd love to hear your thoughts about whether you think these are indeed good palettes for spring, because I think they are. But of course, that is just from seeing the color story. So if you'd like to see my top 10 palettes for spring, please keep on watching. I have 10 palettes. One of the brands out of those 10, I actually have kind of like a multiple choice for you guys. Like it really will depend on personal preference. I have 12 palettes laid out in front of me, but really we're going with like a top 10 because let's face it, it's a lot more cool to do a top 10 than it is a top 12. We're gonna start off with a transitional palette. And what I mean by that is if you live in a place that is still a bit chilly, kind of like here in New York, we've had a few really nice spring days, but it's still, then you probably want some variety. You don't want just pinks and corals and pastels. You want a mix. And on top of that, lately the cool tones have really been taking over the beauty world. So I decided to pull out an oldie but a goodie. And I know some people like the other Too Faced chocolate bar type palettes a lot better than this one. I don't own any of them. I don't have the Sweet Peach. I know that's in a lot of people's spring palette videos. I don't have the original chocolate bar. I remember when it came out, I drooled over it, and I just decided I don't want to spend the $50 on that specific palette. But this one I had heard about from different people here on YouTube as well as friends, and I've really been enjoying it, and I think this is perfect for a transition palette during this time of the year. You have, of course, your standard neutrals, like you have almond truffle, you have molasses chip, you have mocha, you have malted, you have Bordeaux. These are all of your beautiful browns and taupes. You have dark truffle, this gorgeous pecan praline, this very cool tone, like a grayish taupey matte But then you also have this fantastic pop of pink cotton candy. You've got this totally fetch, which kind of matches my shirt, and there's gonna be a bunch of palettes with that color in them. You have this cafe au lait. You have satin sheets, which is, let's face it, just like a fantastic all over the lid shimmer. This sprinkles shade, which is such a fun spring pale pink. I think this is great. And then you also have Divinity, which has a little bit of a satin to it, but you can mix it with other shades and lighten them up. This is great, great, great for a transition. So if you're in an environment where it's still kind of cool, you don't want the bright pinks immediately, maybe you just want a pop of pink, I think this is a great one. Since we're on the topic of Too Faced, let's get the other palette right out of the way. This is going to be an unpopular opinion because I remember when this palette came out, oh boy, did it get a lot of heat. Not in a good way. A lot of people really talked on this palette, and I'll be honest, I really like this palette, and I think if there's any palette that is great for the spring, it's this one. Now granted, I used it a lot last year in the summertime because I think I picked it up sometime in the summertime, but I used the heck out of it in the months of July and August, and I am just so excited that this year I get to start earlier. I love the mattes in here. I do think they're lovely. I don't know why people were really not into this palette. I will have to say, if you're of a deeper skin tone, then probably this one is not for you because the only really deep shade is the black. I personally love Sweet Fig. It's one of my favorite shades in here, but it's not one that's going to create a ton of dimension, which is why I think it's so great for the springtime, because I feel like for the springtime you want something lighter and brighter and more airy, and you don't want to have a deep dark smoky eye. So I think that's the perfect time for this palette. I love Glistening Peach and Peach Ice. Yes, they are crumbly. Yes, you have to spray your brush or use a glitter glue or something like that. I think this has quite a few great shades. Peach Sorbet is lovely. Peach Suede is lovely. And we do have primarily mattes in here. And I love mattes. I mean, you can see I'm wearing like a super bright crazy eye, but it is all matte. So yeah, this is one of my faves for spring and summer. Maybe I like it so much because I haven't tried the other ones. I haven't tried the big Sweet Peach palette. I haven't tried the Just Peachy mattes. Maybe I would love those even more. But the one I do have, I'm a fan of. So I figured I'd mention it here because if you have it, maybe this is a great time to pull it out and give it some love. Another palette that I think is a great transitional palette because it has so much going on, and this was limited edition, so you know you can't get it anymore, but if you have it, this might be a perfect time to pull it out. This is the Lorac the Lorac Mega Pro, and I believe this was the volume 4. I think this is fantastic for the spring. Now, hear me out as to why. First of all, I think that we've got a wonderful array of lighter pastel-y type mattes. Light Sage, the Flamingo shade, Denim shade, which can be built up, or you can mix it in with like Pink Peony and lighten it even further. You've got this great Cotton shade, which is like a white, but it gives off a little bit of a teeny tiny lightest bluish tinge. Then of course you've got all of your neutrals right in here. You've got some cool tones right in here. It's got a lot going on. If you are a dark skinned gal or guy, maybe this would be a little trickier because you do have blackberry, you do have cedar, you have shadow and dark chocolate, some darker colors here. I don't know, I'm not a makeup artist. I have not done makeup on deeper skin tones, so it would be hard for me to know, but overall I think this is a fantastic spring palette. Another reason I think it's a fantastic spring palette is because of this green, this moss shade. I personally really enjoy greens in the springtime just because, you know, after the flowers and the magnolias and the cherry blossoms bloom, we get those bright new fresh greens coming out in nature, and I kind of really love that in makeup too. I really get inspired by the actual seasons. I'd love to hear if you do. I mean, I know everyone's different. Some people just stick to the same makeup all year round. I have no idea, maybe you're like that and you think this is all very silly because you'd be using this all year round. I love this unicorn color. It's like a duochrome, a light pinky purple, lotus, which is really lovely. Got some cooler tones. I think this has so much going for it. I just think there's so many colors, so much variety, and none of it is very bright or very brash. I feel like it's perfect for this renewal of life in nature. Another great versatile palette, and one that I really like, is the BH Cosmetics Royal Affair palette. This one, you know, when you look at it, you think, are you sure this is a spring palette? This looks more fall. And I do think parts of it are very fall, so this might make a reappearance in a half a year or so from now. But I think it's also a great palette for spring, and here's why. Basically, you still have enough pops of color here to really do some fun spring looks, because you have all your neutrals, your deeper, darker shades. If you are somebody who really enjoys the jewel tones and the smoky eyes. But if you're looking for something that's a little bit lighter and brighter, you've got this whole row, which I think is so fantastic. You've got this gorgeous chartreuse yellowy green in Crown, this fun throne. It's a little chalky, it's a little chunky, it has to be built up, it has to be sprayed, but if you're willing to work with that shade, it's really beautiful. Your lighter neutrals, you've got this gorgeous color called Lady, which I think is just spring in an eyeshadow. If you want to go a little deeper, you've got Honor. If you want to do a more traditional gold, you've got Imperial, and it's like a little bit of a dusty gold. If you want something cooler tone, you've got Aristocrat. I just think this has a lot of fun shades, and if you have it, I don't see why you shouldn't be using it in the springtime. I think it's perfect in the springtime. Let's do a couple of palettes that I haven't yet played with, but that I discovered in my collection as I was going through to find everything that is brand new and unused. We've got an obvious one. If I remember correctly, this was a spring release last year. So clearly, if it was a spring release last year, it can still be a spring release this year. And for me it is, because it's brand new. So for me, I might as well have basically just purchased it. This is so fun. So fun. The perfect neutrals for spring because they're light and peachy. You've got Estate, Cabana, and Coastline. These three right there. Oh, amazing. You got Sails, which is beautifully bright and can mix with other colors. You've got Monte Carlo, which I love that shade. I cannot wait to try that shade. Of course, you've got Bahamas, which is even brighter than the shirt I'm wearing. These fantastic, so yummy shimmery shades. Every single one of them is delicious, and I want to try this palette oh so soon. Yes, I know it has mixed reviews, but I got it at TJ Maxx. I got it at a discount. I am thrilled that I have it and I want to use it. Another palette I recently got in a BoxyCharm. By recently, of course, I mean before my no-buy year. The Sassy Siennas by Joseph Colors. I've had their Marvelous Mauves for quite a while. I love the formula. I'm sure this formula is going to be just as amazing. And look at these colors. I mean, they're like corally and warm brown goodness. They're basically flowers and sunshine and lightheartedness and laughter and strolls in the park and smelling the flowers and just absolute joy in a palette. And there's only 5 shades and you can mix and match them in any way you like. I think if you're one for easy on-the-go looks, this would be perfect. I am so excited to break into this palette. This is one I cannot wait. All right, let's go through something that I do know and love. 4 left. Well, 4 plus bonus. This is the Pat McGrath Mothership Subversive La Vie en Rose palette. This is one of those palettes where you'd look at it and you'd say, looks a little dark for spring, but I personally don't think so. I think this is perfect for spring, especially if you're willing to pair it with something else. This is just gorgeous. That gold, amazing. These pinks and burgundies and that peachy duochrome. I mean, yes, there's only 6 shades. Yes, you can't really technically create a look purely from that. I mean, you could. Definitely you can with those 3. Definitely you can incorporate some stuff. But if you were super pale like me and you like to have your more neutral transitions, you're gonna have to find something else to pair with this. But it's worth it. I think this is a beautiful palette. I love the color story. I adore the packaging. Yes, it's kind of weird and a pain in the butt, but I think it is stunning. Definitely if you have, I mean, I'm sure if you have other Pat McGrath palettes, I feel like almost every one of her palettes includes a lighter shimmery color that's more of a duochrome. I feel like there's always some pop of color in all of her palettes that you can definitely incorporate in the springtime. As I mentioned earlier, I really love greens in the spring. I do feel like they're quite symbolic for the time of the year, so I really wanted to feature this palette in this video. This is the Natasha No Tameni Gold palette. I bought this right before my no-buy year. This was like one of those palettes that I kind of succumbed to at the very last moment before I started my no-buy year, and I love it. I love this. I wish I could get my hands on the other little ones, the mini nude, the mini glam. There's another one that just recently came out and I want all of them. She's got the mini lila that I've been eyeing for God knows how long. This is the only one I got, and I'm glad I got this one. I adore it. I think this mossy green would be perfect for the spring. These lid shades are fantastic. Of course, you've got this beautiful transition color. Granted, again, if you're a deeper skin tone, maybe not. And then you have a darker color if you do need to take things up a notch. But these three colors especially, I feel, are so appropriate for spring. You know, you've got sunshine, you've got greenery, you just have this freshness in this palette. It's got that perfect balance of staying grungy and yet ushering in the new season. So I'm really excited to use that palette more. All right, we've down to 2, and then the bonus that I'm going to leave for the end. This is something that I haven't used yet, but I wanted to put it in here because I know Colorpop in general has so many monochromatic palettes, and I feel like so many of them would be appropriate for spring. So if you have any of these, this is a perfect time to pull them out. I mean, they have what? They have the peach one, the strawberry one, the mint one, the yellow one, you know, the honey, the just my luck, the mint to be or something. I can't keep up with all the cutesy names Colorpop comes up with. I'm sorry, some of them are adorable, some of them make me want to barf, but regardless, the only one I have is It's My Pleasure, and I'm definitely excited to try this spring. I think for somebody like me that does enjoy pinks and purples more so than pinks, I like my browns as well, I love my greens, but this I think I'm definitely going to have a fun time with because it is definitely season appropriate, at least in my mind. But as I said, there are so many other palettes that Colorpop has that I think would fit perfectly. Like, you can just substitute whatever you have for this. And then finally, last but not least, and in some ways most springy, is my Juvia's Place Deuce palette. I just saw Kelly Gooch feature this in her top 5 spring palettes, and I completely agree. I remember thinking of this video even before I watched hers, and definitely knowing I was going to put this in this video, and then I saw hers and I was like, well, yes, of course. Kelly agrees, so I have to talk about it. I love this palette. I think it's great. I feel like my Mont Blanc is forming a little bit of a hard pan. That's the only annoying thing about this palette. But look at these colors. Is this not spring in a palette? Yes, it seems a little bit crazy with the color scheme, but if you really think it through, it makes perfect sense. You've got your pinks and purples, kind of like your quad with your transition shades depending on how deep toned or light toned you are. And then you've got some pops. You've got your silver for if you really do need to have a social distancing night out on the town, meaning night out in your living room. And then you've got this gorgeous green that you can do all over the lid or do just as a pop of color. I adore this palette. I think everything about it is spring. I think the packaging is spring. And this makes me very happy, especially right now. And then the 2 others that I have that I just wanted to mention, because again, if you're not really into more pastel-y type colors, maybe you're into something more bright, more bold, I wanted to mention 2 others that I thought would be great for this time of the year. So there's the Warrior 3, which is what I have on my eyes today. I think this could really work for spring. You've got your pinks and reds and these bright yellows and greens. How fantastic. And then you've got this beautiful blue. I cannot wait to finally see a stunning blue sky after all this rain that we've been having here in New York. I think this would be a really fun, bright spring palette. Like, if you want some in-your-face color this spring, and if you want these Corona blues to just get out of town, this palette might help you do that. And then we've got the Tribe. I think for the springtime, this top part of the palette is just brilliant. I mean, I love that yellowy lime green, this orange and this deeper green, that stunning lid shade in coral. I even think that you could incorporate some chaga and you can deepen up with sun if you wanted something a little bit more sultry, if you wanted some dimension. I think this is a fantastic palette all year round, of course, but especially for spring. Again, I think the packaging is just so lively and so fun and just so renewing and so fresh. We made it through my top 10 spring palettes plus a couple of little bonuses, just depending on what you guys have in your stash. Please remember, I really want you to just take inspiration and go through what you have. This is not meant to encourage you to buy anything. None of these are new, as you can see. I haven't really picked up any new palettes since December, and even then I was already a bargain hunter more than anything else because I never really wanted to spend $40, $50, $60 on palettes. So these 4 I picked up in TJ Maxx. And then if BoxyCharm were to send me something, I did buy this during the Black Friday sales. So this in a way is one of my newest in terms of just dates of release. And then of course this is, I think, my most new. I hope you like this. I would love to hear what are your top picks for your spring palettes. Please list them down below. Give me as many as you want. Do a top 3, a top 5, a top 10 if you want. Let me know if you agree with my choices, if there are others that you're excited to pull out. What colors do you gravitate towards in the spring, and do you at all? Or do you just have your staple colors that you turn to all year round? As always, please take care of yourself. Please take care of each other. Please stay home. Please stay safe. And I would love it if you would consider subscribing and liking this video. It helps me out so much. I wish you guys an amazing day, an amazing week, and I can't wait to see you in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.
By starting something wild and crazy, I figured why not go all out. Do the wild and the crazy. I wanted to pick colors that are kind of a step above what I would be comfortable with for spring. Like I wanted to do something already springy, but like springy on acid, you know, like springy to the umpteenth degree.